The Bible Stories. The Call of Abram.
God called Abram to leave his homeland and his family to go to a land he would show him.
Bible verse: Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you." Genesis chapter 12 verse 1.
Abram obeyed God's command and decided to leave his homeland.
Bible verse: So Abram went as the Lord had told him. Genesis chapter 12 verse 4.
Abram took his wife Sarai and his nephew Lot with him on the journey.
Bible verse: Abram took Sarai his wife and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out to go to the land of Canaan. Genesis chapter 12 verse 5.
Abram and his family arrived in Canaan, and God promised to give this land to Abram's descendants.
Bible verse: When they came to the land of Canaan, the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." Genesis chapter 12 verse 7.
Abram built an altar to the Lord in the place where God appeared to him.
Bible verse: There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Genesis chapter 12 verse 8.
Abram moved toward Bethel, camping between Bethel and Ari as he continued to follow God.
Bible verse: And from there he moved to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. Genesis chapter 12 verse 8.
A famine struck the land, so Abram journeyed to Egypt.
Bible verse: Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to sojourn there. Genesis chapter 12 verse 10.
Fearing that the Egyptians might harm him because of Sarai's beauty, Abram told Pharaoh that Sarai was his sister, not his wife.
Bible verse: When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to Sarai, "I know that you are a woman beautiful in appearance." Genesis chapter 12 verse 11.
When Pharaoh took Sarai to his palace, Abram feared that he would be killed and Sarai would be left behind.
Bible verse: When Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh and she was taken into Pharaoh's house. Genesis chapter 12 verse 15.
God inflicted severe plagues and illnesses on Pharaoh's household to protect Sarai, leading Pharaoh to return her to Abram.
Bible verse: But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. Genesis chapter 12 verse 17.
Pharaoh returns Sarai to Abram and sends them away from Egypt.
Bible verse: So Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me?" Genesis chapter 12 verse 18 through 19.
Abram was blessed by God, gaining great wealth, and his livestock and servants flourished.
Bible verse: And Abram became very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. Genesis chapter 13 verse 2.
Abram and Lot parted ways because their wealth and livestock had grown too large for the land to support them both. Lot chose the area near Sodom, while Abram settled in the nearby regions.
Bible verse: And Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Genesis chapter 13 verse 11 through 12.
After separating from Lot, God promised Abram the land of Canaan in all directions for his descendants forever.
Bible verse: The Lord said to Abram, "Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward." Genesis chapter 13 verse 14 through 15.
Abram trusted God's promise and settled in the land, pitching his tent and building an altar to the Lord.
Bible verse: So Abram moved his tent and came and settled by the oaks of Mamre, which are at Hebron, and there he built an altar to the Lord. Genesis chapter 13 verse 18.
Conclusion and lesson. The story of Abram demonstrates trust in God, obedience, and belief in his promises. Abram followed God's command to leave his homeland and journey to a new land, and even in the midst of challenges and hardships, he remained faithful to God. God promised Abram the land of Canaan, and Abram believed in that promise and lived in obedience to it. This story teaches us several important lessons. 1. Obedience and trust. Abram followed God's command, and his trust and obedience led to great blessings. Similarly, by trusting and obeying God, we too can experience his guidance and blessings. 2. God's promises. God made a clear promise to Abram, and he guided him to fulfill it. Likewise, God has promises for each of us, and he has a plan to bring those promises to fruition. 3. The journey of faith. Abram's journey was not just a physical move, but a journey of growing faith and understanding God's will. In our own lives, we must also grow in faith and deepen our relationship with God as we move through our own journey. The story of Abram shows us how a life of trusting and following God leads to blessings and spiritual growth. If we trust God through our challenges and continue to follow Him, His promises will be fulfilled in our lives.